I want to talk to you about talking to women. So recently, there's been a lot of talk about the way Stephen A. Smith talks to his female co-hosts. What's your thoughts on it before I even get into a long thing?
Well, just briefly, it seems to be worse than normal. I don't think he's being any way that he hasn't been already, but with the increase of conversation of women athletes and women's sports, you're also starting to get more commentary from more women. I think when Stephen A. speaks in general, he doesn't really like to be challenged. And he has back and forth with the men on his show as well. You know, it's his show. He's said that before multiple times, but it lands differently when it's that same speech and sentiment is directed towards women, especially when the women that he is speaking to are more well-versed and educated on the subject matter that they're speaking on. This is where the mansplaining comes out. It seems to be, and it's more prevalent, I would say, in the last few months than I've ever seen from him before.
I don't disagree in the case of Stephen A. Smith.
I wish you yelled at me when you said this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I disagree. I don't disagree in the case of Stephen A. Smith because I think there are a couple of different things that are happening here. I would argue that Stephen A. Smith talks down to everybody on the show.
He does.
Yeah, like he does. Stephen A. Smith, if we give a list of people that Stephen A. Smith has been into it with, he's been into it with JJ Redick.
I think JJ is a different situation because of the situation LeBron James and his camp created by doing that podcast in the middle of the season, knowing that Darvin Ham was on a hot seat.
He used to talk down. I mean, he got Max Kellerman fired. You know what I mean? And this is not a defense of him. I think the whole First Take is my show, and I run First Take is the reason for that. Now, I don't think that Stephen A. Smith has treated these women the way that they should have been treated because you can tell that he looks at them as sort of neophytes in his grand sports commentating world, because he even said to Andrea, like, if you don't learn about marketing, you're going to be consistently underpaid. I mean, you're babying her. You're big boying her. That's something that you shouldn't do to somebody else on television. That was uncomfortable. I think what I'm talking about is there extra care that you should use when you're talking to a woman in an arena where you're completely respectful of her intellect, of her station, her place and things. Like, I'll cut you off, but there's like nobody that's across from me, just to be honest with you, that if I'm talking with them, then I'm not going to cut them off. I'm going to try to be better about cutting people off. But I think that people are especially, like if you listen to any other podcasts, I mean, some of the other podcasts are like, hey, Van, that's my thing. My thing is not being poignant or eloquent or real research or anything like that. My thing is about not being able to, like, stop myself from jumping into conversation the moment what hits me. Oh my God, I got it. Oh my God, I got it. I think I got the answer to the question 4 or 5, 6, 7 times. It's just the way I've always been. Just, hey, call on me. Look, I got it. Why are you going around to the rest of the class? I got it. We can move on. So I think that's the thing for me. But I think people are extra pissed off when it's you. And I think that's because you're a woman.
Sure. I mean, I'll give you some of that. It's never been an issue for me, right? Like, I've never come to you on the side and been like, hey, you cut me off too much. Or, hey, can you lower your voice when you talk to me? Cause I'm going to yell at you and I cut you off. And you're right. We don't really see the sentiment when I cut you off that people are like, Rachel cut Van off, so I understand that. I think that people need to hear you explain why, like you said, you're the kid in the class where, like, I've got the answer. I just want to blurt it out now. I think to an audience, the way they perceive it is what you have to say is more important than what I have to say. And that's how people feel sometimes when someone cuts someone off. For me, it's never really been an issue. But I think you're right. No matter how hard we try, at least where we stand today in society, and obviously things are better, we still have looked through things through the eyes of the patriarchy or whatever, or through gender roles. And people feel a certain way with this man-woman dynamic when you do something to me versus when I do something to you. It's still embedded within us. So I'm not going to take that away from you. I do think that the perception is that at times, but you also have to understand that if you cut me off, people are going to say, yeah, they're going to maybe handle me with a little bit of care, but it also can come off as what you have to say is more important than what I have to say.
Can I ask you a bit of a thorny question on this?
Go ahead.
I got that thorny word from Juliet Littman. Let's say that somebody was consistently cutting me off.
Mm-hmm.
It would stop. You're just not going to consistently cut me off. Is it possible that I cut you off and then you get cut off because of you?
That I allow you to keep cutting me off?
That you're used to men over talking you?
No. But
okay.
for we are doing a podcast and I'm cognizant of people are listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when you cut me off, I'll, like come back at it. Or sometimes I cut you off and I'm like, whatever. But I recognize that people are listening to us and the back and like me trying to yell over you or you trying to yell over me doesn't necessarily fare well with those who are just listening to the podcast. Be different people who are watching us. So sometimes I just let it go. But if I really want to make a point or if I really feel like it's super important or I don't want to lose my thought, then I'll say that to you. Again, I've never had an issue with the way that we communicate with one another, except for one time when we had a family meeting and I wasn't even here for that.
Do we, particularly guys like Stephen A., guys like myself, do we need to take extra care when we're in conversation with Black women in public spheres? That's the question.
Just don't be disrespectful. That's it. Don't talk down to me. Don't patronize me. Don't talk to me in a condescending way. Just talk to me. And in a debated show like First Take, you're going to have heated conversations. Monica McNutt is not the first woman to have a heated conversation with Stephen A. Smith on First Take. And she won't be the last. My only issue with Stephen A. Smith, it wasn't even the back and forth with Monica on the show. It was his response after, because it was disrespectful and it minimized her. So as long as you're talking to me like an equal and we can disagree, we can yell at each other, I'm fine with that. But don't disrespect me and I won't disrespect you.
Well, I think it's good for us to have a conversation, not just about the podcast here, because we have a male-female, female-male dynamic every single day. But a lot of people watch it and they go, well, Stephen A. is a jerk to everyone. Stephen A. Big times everybody. Stephen A. talks down to everyone. It feels different when he's doing it, particularly to a Black woman. It feels different. And is it different to him and for him? Should it feel different to him? Should it feel different for what just happened there?
I stopped.
What?
I stopped.
Whoa. Wow. I'm injured and hurt by you cutting me off.
Don't do this though. But see, don't.